Yeah, he's mic'd. You ready to go?
Yeah, ready to go.
We're ready to go.
All right, Bubble Man's World. I'm just here with the originator, as many know, as Soilgrown.
What's up, guys? Phil here.
How you doing?
Just hanging out on this hot day, you know.
Yeah.
High Times Cannabis Cup.
Better than rain.
Yeah, a lot better than the rain, but it's gonna get a lot better once it starts to cool down, you know.
Yeah, so we were talking on Hash Church about how many events they were having in a row, and now doesn't it feel better to just kind of have like, all right, there's a SoCal and a NorthCal, just 2 a year, you know?
Oh, most definitely, yeah. It's just like, it gets watered down having it so often, you know. People are going to them every week, and it just starts to burn it out. I feel like it becomes more of a reward getting to go to these things, you know, every so often. Like, you look forward to it, you know.
And it allows us to network, and it's almost like a little retreat, like if you do it the right way, which this time was good. There was many days here. You know, you get 3 days, and then you kind of get to interact with a lot of patients and then different people in your industry. By third day, which is today, it's like I'm kind of going around and being able to kick it with people.
Oh, I agree 100%, dude. Having like the 2-day events or the 1-day events, they're cool and all. It's just, you know, you get so stuck at the booth on those first days, the first day 1 and 2, and it's just like you don't really get a network or meet the people that you were looking for, you wanted to meet. So that third day, it's important. I feel like, you know, it's great for that part of the event, the networking.
This is my favorite day because I get to sample everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
A lot of people also don't know you also make hash rosin too, right?
Correct. Yeah, and water hash.
And water hash.
Of course.
So not just flower rosin.
No.
And you were showing off a little bit earlier over here, and so pick out your, if you had to give me your best dab of the hash rosin, or say just of your, say, resin category and oil category, because anything that's pressed hash, you know, would be oil. So give me your best hash and give me your best oil.
Doing some dabs?
Yeah.
Right on. Let's do it.
What do you want to have?
Let me get the, let's get the 159 through 73 OG glue, bubble hash, and then let's do the orange cookies OG glue, live rosin, flower rosin blend. So I like to blend the rosins too, you know, so rather than just having you know, flower rosin or live rosin or, you know, just one specific strain, having the oils and being able to blend, I feel like you're basically able to kind of create your own flavor in a sense.
So are you actually mixing the flower rosin and the hash rosin?
Yes, correct.
Together?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, I haven't really played with doing the live rosin or the hash rosin and the flower rosin mixes, but I mean, they work really well because a lot of the times the hash rosin.
We were just talking about this the other day because we made why we call it our grease is we're taking bubble hash rosin with terpenes, and then there's flower rosin with terpenes, and they're distinctively two different, totally different taste and everything. From
the texture to the you know, the visual to the experience, 100%. And as far as taste too, you know.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, we're all kind of. I was talking with Frenchie last night too. Everyone that's really into, you know, into their own like type of making of hash is like chefs. You know, it's like if I was an Italian chef and he was a French chef, you know, and you like establish yourself as chefs and you're kind of creating your own way.
Exactly. It's like an art. That's why it's like an art. You know, it's because that's where it's like it takes that creative mind to take the steps to play with it. Yeah. You know, you go out of the box. You try new things. Rather than following what you learned and what you think is the best, you explore, you know, and that's what's fun about it. And meeting the other people and all the others that are doing the same thing, it's great.
All right, so now that we know you're making creations, what'd you pick out for me to try?
Okay, orange cookies is up first.
So right here we got some orange cookies.
This is the orange cookies flower rosin.
Blended with the OG glue live rosin.
There's your dab.
Okay, and explain live rosin to the audience what that is exactly.
Okay, so
what exactly are you doing that makes that live rosin?
Okay, so first of all, we are not pressing fresh frozen buds. It doesn't work when you press fresh plant. I mean, some people may have some techniques or tricks to it, but as far as like the best ways and the most common way that's going to end up sticking, I would say, is going to be to wash the fresh frozen into a water hash, drying it, and then pressing that. I mean, that's what
live rosin is?
That's what live rosin is. And really,
basically fresh frozen full melt.
Fresh frozen full melt, pressed into rosin.
That's what our grease is.
The wash and squash, 100%.
Okay, that's what our grease is, yeah.
I mean, it's as close as live rosin you can get for the rosin side, you know?
What was that? Orange cookies.
Orange cookies.
Yeah, it tasted like an orange soda with like hints of sugar cookies.
Right here, Phil, this is ready.
That's interesting because that tastes more like a really clean hash oil. It's a cool way you combine that. I felt it to my front of my head like right away too.
Now we have you try the OG glue that's ice wax.
Yeah, that
Okay.
one's heavy sativa.
Now I'm gonna try the ice wax. I really wish you were here, Marcus, but somebody's got to host.
Is that who's on the other end of that, Marcus?
Mr. Bubbleman. Somebody's got to fill in the role. I was like, he needs somebody to do Bubbleman world tour here. And he's not in the United States, so I volunteered to be the host to try everyone's dabs.
So we got tummy covering.
I'm taking it upon myself to try all the dabs that he would be trying.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your OG ice wax.
So this one's for you, B-Man.
OG ice wax. This one's for the B-Man. Yeah, buddy.
Rocking that Soilgrown dab.
Oh yeah, it's immediately so much stronger. That's a hash hit.
Oh yeah, I feel like the water hash
Wow.
definitely has the most expansion on the lungs. And nice heavy high. Just like smoking hash. Almost a more full spectrum high, rather than just like the flower rosin.
Noticeable is like when you smoke hash and people think of chalice. The old school way of smoking hash, you're generating a lot of carbon, a lot of smoke.
Yes.
So from the flower live rosin, really clean, a lot of less smoke. So a different way of expanding the lungs. It's almost like a pure way to hit the capillaries. This one, hash is like a little bit more smoky, so it blows it up and gives you that old school
We
expansion.
almost don't need as much smoke, but we're used to taking the same size hit. So now we take that same hit and it hits us harder because we're used to a cleaner smoke.
Half that size.
Exactly. And when you're doing oil, exactly. There's less contaminant in it, less carbon, and I feel like that's why.
And most people like that are out there. What I like to do is when I heat my quartz or silicone carbide or have it on my nail or something, the most important thing is that anytime you're dabbing full melt and you press it out, I always bring it into where the heat source is, test the side of whatever element dish that you're using. And if it starts to nicely melt and bubble right there, then you know the temperature's right to go ahead and drop it and let it fall into the rest of the dish. If you see any kind of burn or a little browning, that's an indication to pull back and wait. And wait 15 seconds or more, and then try it again. And once it hits the side of that dish, and it starts to bubble, then you know you have the right.
And that's something I'll do oftentimes when I'm about to do a dab, and I forget like the time or how long I was counting. I'm like, oh, I'll give it a little tap, and it kind of gives you an idea. Like, oh, you see that little tap? It just stays nice and clear oil rather than charring.
So that's where I think people don't understand or appreciate first run, 30-second or 1 minute agitation runs. Getting the first most beautiful array of trichomes is that first shaking of the tree to get those trichomes in one first wash, right? And then you get that and you're looking for this 5 or 6 star. So when you get that, you're getting these like voluptuous, like on a macro level grapes, these perfectly preserved heads that are fitting a certain screen size on the first agitation. And it's a delicacy and it's expensive, and you've got to take smaller dabs pressed out thin. And you have to be able to do that dab test with any kind of heat source. So that way you can actually have this medicine last a lot longer and appreciate it better.
Yeah, and those short runs, you know, you're capturing those heads that dissolve the fastest. That's why you want to get those in short, quick runs.
Yeah.
I feel like,
well, go ahead.
I feel like that's how you're going to capture a lot of those terpenes, you know, especially in the water hash.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really appreciate the way that you're also looking at terpenes and how you're preserving them in your process, whether we're using Sasquatch. And a lot of the times when people, you know, the collaboration really that we're doing is we're using the Sasquatch V1 and the V2 with a California Air now that's in a complete, but it's in a silence box.
Oh, no shit.
And it has a flow adapter, so every time you hit, it keeps that 80 on the pedal, and it kind of hits the whole time, and there's no sound. And so that allows us to control the plate temps. You could always shut the top one off or keep it to 100 and the other one at 180. So even with flower rosin, to simulate the effect of the V1, because there's certain things that I like about the V1, especially with hash, is that colder plate on top. Sometimes it down temping allows it to do something different than having a constant heat. You know?
That's awesome, dude. And you see, that's the experimentation with like each individual artist themselves. You know, they decide to go, well, I'm going to try this instead of just sticking to the same. And that's what's beautiful about it. And that's where we stumble upon these new textures and just new versions of the oil. And it's just, that's what's great about this, dude. Most definitely.
Yeah, so I'm excited for what's to come with you. You got a really strong fam, and the Sasquatch is doing good. We use it for Prana. We use it for Bubble Man, Blue River collaborations. I thoroughly enjoy it. I stand by the product. You know, when you're pushing pounds and pressing pounds all day long, over and over and over and over, that's when you find out if you have something that works.
Yeah, most definitely, dude.
It's built to allow us to be artists.
It's the beast, dude. It's sad. I mean, it's for production, it's for boutique, it's for however you want. With this machine, you can manipulate it. It's full control. If you want to press water hash and you need to press very, very slow, I mean, you can lower the PSI on your compressor. Yeah, and you can have full control of the speed as well as the temperatures, and you know, it's as well as the strength of it. So whatever you want to press, if you want to throw in a quarter pound and you want to go crazy, you can do so. But you know, that's a whole nother ball game. You know, you have production level and you have more of a connoisseur level.
Yeah, we call it artisanal or boutique because we always do things, and we finally were able to get some of our stuff out, and like we've got 50 grams of a Jack Frost. We were jumping up and down. It's 100 half grams, just because trying to get that kind of quality into production is really hard. But if we didn't have the Sasquatch and a team and kind of dialed this in for the last year, we wouldn't be able to start getting into that. So it's hard sometimes when you're like an artist and you get stumbled upon with your tools. You know, so I have to give my hats off to like using the right tools. Makes it a lot easier to be able to develop these different types of new techniques as well.
I think tools are an important part of the trade. Having proper tools, having the right resources allows you to have an advantage in this this part of the industry.
Yeah, and then finally, the most important part is the quality of the herb. So
100%.
Everyone's like, oh, I got this like trim with like smalls. Can you press this out? Let me know. Same thing with terps. It's like, well, I mean, I really want to take the oranges from the tree when they're ripe and perfect big oranges, not these little baby ones, or not the ones that got rotten and fell to the ground, or not just the peels. You know, so you're only as good as the farmer. So like, you got the tools down, you got the skills down, and if somebody doesn't give you good flowers, there's nothing you can do about it.
That's a whole nother part of the game, is being a terp hunter. You know, you got to find that quality, and a lot of people claim to have it and do it, but you know, it's really not that easy to find. You really got to look around, and you got to look past all the bullshit and all the hype, because there is a lot of hype.
Now when I talk to farmers, you're like, so what did it test? What's the microbes? What's the pesticides? Oh, I didn't test that. And you're like, all right, well, when you do, let me know. Give me all the reports. Test a couple different batches of it. And those are really, that's like super important, especially when you're dealing with this. And this is, I look at this as a tester as well. It's like, give me an ounce of your material. If you've passed all of your pesticides and microbes and everything, cool. Give me an ounce of your material. If I press it out and it's like 5%, something's wrong with the resin. It's not us. It's not the machine.
And you know what? And I don't always blame the grower, because there's a lot of times where, for instance, this the Sunny D, I mean, it only put out 10%, but the other strains I got from the grower, I mean, I hit as far as like 25%, you know? So it's like, there's phenomenal strains, but some strains just don't produce the oil, or the heads just don't feel, they just don't feel like the others, you know? So
yeah, they could be, when you look at, sometimes there's different types of varieties where there's stalks that line up in perfect grids and they're spaced with bigger heads, and then there's stalks that line up very tightly and take up every space with tiny little heads. And when you go to wash resin, it's very hard, because it'd be like a lemon tree that was solid full of lemons on the outside that made it harder for them to move. And so these little tiny heads can come off like almost like harder raisins, right? And when you get into something like this, I found the moisture content, the time, the length, the heat, you could get pretty good at trying to get what you can out of it, but it is like a fruit that sometimes doesn't want to be squished. And so you have to find different ways and uses of those varieties, or they get phased out from use.
That's it. If you're working for concentrates and it's not working for you and that's what you do, okay. But if you do it for flowers, sometimes those flowers are very enjoyable just because they don't produce as much oil.
So what was in the orange soda? Because it tasted like an orange zesty soda.
So that was the orange cookies, flower rosin blended with the OG glue live rosin.
OG glue live rosin. Okay. Yeah, that was good. Well, I appreciate hanging out and everything. Did you enter anything into the?
I didn't. Nah, it was really short notice. Like, I knew this was coming, but I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to be here. Been real busy with like a lot of the other projects, so I kind of scrounged to get stuff ready for this. This was like a last minute thing. Staying up till late in the morning, barely sleeping, barely eating, knocking it out just to be here, you know. But definitely I'm going to be entering in some of these events this year.
Well, much respect as always, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. Great talking to you.